Okay, well, I want to first of all welcome everybody to come and for coming and participating in our Doing Business in the UK Health Tech webinar. First and foremost, I'd like to take a second to thank all of our panelists. We have a great group of both New Mexico and, of course, UK experts that are thrilled to provide this opportunity to learn a little bit more about doing business in the UK, but also to talk about the giant trade show taking place this December and the opportunity to participate in that. And for New Mexico companies, I know that there might be some participants from out of state which have similar resources, but for New Mexico companies in particular, there are some resources available that you'll learn about to be able to participate with some or all of that cost covered. With that, I'll mention a couple of kind of housekeeping things that we should discuss before we get going. First and foremost, anybody who has a question, feel free to use the Q&A tab at the bottom of your screen to chime in. We'll try and pay attention. If there's a moment that we can interject to try and address a question based on the timing of what the presenter is going over, we'll try and do so. I encourage our panelists as well to please ask questions along the way. The more interactive, I think the more beneficial for everybody, typically in this type of environment. Today we have the Bioscience Center here in New Mexico. We have both the founder, Stu Rose, and Chief Operations Officer, Lisa Adkins. We have Rick Van Ness, President of the New Mexico Biotechnology and Biomedical Association. We have the New Mexico Economic Development Department, the Deputy Division Director, Sarah Gutierrez, representing the Office of International Trade. And then, of course, we have our folks from Giant Health, Barry Schreier, founder, and then John Wilkes, who will talk about the business environment in the UK from the health tech sector perspective, as well as an additional added program special to this year's health tech event that is designed to provide almost like a trade mission feel and customized service, but obviously doing it in a COVID world. Virtual setting. Barry, looks like you're struggling a little bit with the presentation.
So I thought I had the presentation up live. What's happening here? Apologies for this.
No problem. This is the world of Zoom land.
How do I turn this Q&A feature off? That's the only thing I want to do is turn that Q&A off.
I'm not sure. I don't typically use Google Prez. While you work on that, I can go ahead and start talking about the Trade Alliance. We'll just quickly go over each of our participating organizations. So you can have an idea of the resources that are available here before we delve into our presentation on the UK. A little bit about the Trade Alliance. We are New Mexico's Export Assistance Center, so we help local companies handle and address any type of international business, either obstacle or opportunity that they might have. So we interact with companies on things from educational opportunities like this webinar, to individual issues that a company might have, a container stuck at a port, there's questions about filling out export documentation, a certificate of origin needs to be signed for a customer abroad, all the way to, and hopefully back to the good old days before COVID, taking companies to market, to trade shows, business matchmaking to find customers throughout the world. So at any point in the future, if we might be of service to any of our participants, don't hesitate to reach out. We're also a great dot connector to others. I should also mention we're also New Mexico's official U.S. Export-Import Bank partner. So any companies looking for export-related financing are welcome to reach out to us, and we're happy to connect you to those services. With that, let me pass it on over to Stu and Lisa at the Bioscience Center to talk a little bit about that.
Stu and Lisa is Lisa.
Hi, Randy.
Good morning.
You want me to have one of these slides up now?
Yes, please, that one. We could start with this one and then we'll go to the next one. So we're with the Bioscience Center in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We're a biotech incubator for startups in biotech and life sciences. Dr. Stuart Rose is our founder and I'm his COO. You can go to the next slide. So we have a thriving biotech industry in New Mexico. And oops, the door is ringing, sorry. We have major programs at all three of our research universities, including UNM, New Mexico Tech, and New Mexico State University. We have biotech spinoffs from the Department of Defense, the Department of Energy programs at all three of our national labs, including Los Alamos National Lab, San Diego National Labs, and AFRL. We have a significant biotech activity throughout the state, including, for example, things we don't normally think of as biotech, like algal oil, pharmaceutical manufacturing, DNA manipulation of plants, growth enhancement of plants in greenhouses, waste treatment using bacteria, etc. Because biotech manufacturing uses a lot of energy, it's important to understand that we have the lowest cost of renewable energy, wind and solar, in the USA. We have the talent pool from graduates of all three of our research universities and from our network of community colleges. We have a lower cost of infrastructure for research and development and manufacturing, and the jobs in biotech are high paying. So we're very fortunate in New Mexico to have that industry thriving here.
Next slide or not yet?
I just gave the next slide. Yeah, we're done.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa. I think Lisa did a good job of summarizing the New Mexico industry, as well as one of the biggest success stories New Mexico has, which is Dr. Rose and Lisa herself in creating a bioscience center for startups to work. But to talk a little bit more about the innovation in New Mexico, Lisa did a good job of describing a lot of the great attributes of New Mexico. And you can go to the next slide. When it comes to actual, biotech, NM Bio is the New Mexico state affiliate for the larger bio professional organization. So I think many of you attending this webinar have probably heard of Bio. It's a professional organization for small startups all the way up to the big, drug development companies or IVD companies. In New Mexico specifically, we have over 60 member companies and sponsors. They are both in New Mexico, like the Bioscience Center and Pebble Labs, and out of New Mexico, which would be your large Novo Nordisk and Pfizer's. These are member companies that we get together to talk about, whether it's simple foundational problems like regulations, all the way up to big ones of seeking VC money, or even partnerships or collaborations with companies in the UK. So we talk about these through professional seminars, and we set up through a lot of consultants and financial areas to try and be a foster of growth, trying to be the spark or the catalyst to making a biotech successful in New Mexico. So you can pivot to the next slide.
Can I interrupt, or do we have questions later?
No, you help yourself, my friend.
Yeah, so thank you very much for that. Do you guys have established partners in Europe in terms of, for example, providing biotech companies in New Mexico with entry into European markets or access to European investors or this type of thing?
That's a great question, Barry. And I think the next person, Sarah, is going to have a good feel of that. Stu will as well. So I specifically can't answer that, but I'm sure Sarah can. So I think you're ahead, my friend, and I appreciate that question.
Okay, no worries. Next slide. Here we go.
Of course. And so just to give some context on the biotech industry itself in New Mexico, there's about 7,500 employees, but I want to take that with a huge grain of salt, because Lisa did a good job of describing some of the large national labs and oil companies that we have here. Those aren't counted in that number. So that number is obviously a lot bigger, but specific to just those small startups and companies that are trying to get to the phase 1 development of a drug, there's about 7,500 employees, about 700 companies. R&D in New Mexico is about $200 million specific. That's kind of an NIH number. There's probably a little bit more than that. But overall, the patents have been filed, and New Mexico is growing. To Lisa's point, it's a thriving industry here in New Mexico, and we'd be happy to learn more about the UK. And to your comment, Barry, if there's linkage between not only the associations but the companies themselves. And to your question, and someone who's going to answer that a lot better is definitely Sarah from the New Mexico Economic Development Department. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to her.
Great, thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. My name is Sarah Gutierrez. I'm with the New Mexico Economic Development Department. Thank you, Rick, for that entree. I am the Deputy Division Director of the Economic Development Division. Our long-standing Director of International Trade, Edward Herrera, who you may know, is retiring. And so I'm kind of filling in for him as we transition. And so please bear with me if I don't have all the answers to your questions. I will certainly get them if I don't have it. So just wanted to give you just a brief overview of what we do at the Economic Development Department. We are a state executive level agency, and our Office of International Trade has been a team of one for the past few years. So Edward Herrera has focused on our resources mostly through the state trade expansion program to help companies. We generally work with companies to provide one-on-one counseling to figure out, what their export needs are, if they're interested in exporting, where they might begin. If they have begun their exporting, then maybe how they might be able to expand that. So we provide seminars and workshops in conjunction with our partners with the state, with the Trade Alliance, as well as the SBA. And then we are, our main focus, because our main funding source is that state, that STEP grant, we do work with our partners to go on trade missions and attend trade shows. The STEP funds will likely be able to offset the cost for companies that are interested in attending this upcoming Doing Business in UK event. So we're really happy to announce that, and hope that anyone who's interested will reach out and contact us. We'll put you on the right path to get that going. So generally the STEP grant can cover booth space at major international trade shows. It can also enhance working with the SBA with matchmaking services, the Gold Key matchmaking services, where companies get a chance to interact with possible suppliers and customers at those trade shows. Now, as we enter into the world of COVID, we are certainly moving towards the trade shows virtually for the next probably few months, I would imagine, if not maybe a year out. We've also introduced some other options for STEP funds so that companies can still continue to work on their export endeavors without, kind of being stuck, not being able to travel. So we have introduced some additional funding available for website optimization to build your website for export purposes, as well as some international market research that we'll be partnering with the Department of Commerce on. And of course, we'll be able to utilize those matchmaking services for those virtual trade shows. And Barry, I'm sorry, could you repeat your question? Let's see if I can take a stab at it.
Oh, okay. So thank you for this very, very helpful introduction. And again, we really appreciate you guys being here, participating in the webinar today, and we're very excited about building a partnership with you. Lots of great overlap in our areas of activity and our priorities. So my question was, are you guys already involved working on behalf of, for example, biotech businesses in New Mexico and helping them to gain entry in Europe? Or are you working with any state agencies in Europe already or investors in Europe? I just have seen a lot of overlap. I've seen a bunch of names on your slides already. Looking at this slide, the second category, 60 plus members and sponsors, businesses like Novo, Nordisk, and Pfizer, businesses like that, and listing banks and VCs and accounting. We're already working with quite a large number of businesses like those named there, and we're always happy to get involved in joining up the dots, so to speak. So for example, if some of those big global biotech businesses, Pfizer and Novo Nordisk, are involved working with you in New Mexico, then we'd be very happy to connect the people within those businesses that we're working with, like I said, to join up the dots, so to speak. Our experience is that these are extremely large companies, and often the office within that very, very large global company dealing with their partnerships in New Mexico might not know about the other office within that extremely large global company working with us here in the UK. So lots of opportunities, like I said, to join up the dots. And I also, like I said, I just wanted to ask you about, are you already involved with any state organizations in the UK or elsewhere in Europe?
Yeah, I think it's probably best if I answer the question. I have the best perspective, I think, at least in the bio area. So, you know, New Mexico's a unique place. You know, it's of the U.S. states, it's the fifth largest in area, but it's like the 42nd or 44th, somewhere in that range in population. It's also a state that has 40% of the population at the poverty level or below, but it has one of the highest family income counties in the country, in Los Alamos County, and so it's a duality of rich and poor,
Right.
But what's particularly fascinating about the state is that we have effectively three national laboratories: Los Alamos National Laboratory, Sandia National Laboratory, and something called the Air Force Research Laboratory,
Right.
which is dedicated to the Air Force, and so not technically a national laboratory, but in the same kind of category. Together, those three spend about $4.5 billion US per year in R&D. And then we have three research universities that spend another $2 billion. So New Mexico, as relatively small it is in population, is probably the highest per capita spend in R&D in the United States.
Okay.
So and historically, if you look at what's happened, there's been a lot of technology that has come out of that $6.5 billion a year in spend.
Yes.
But there's been no history in New Mexico of technology commercialization locally. All that technology has historically been licensed out elsewhere. And what's happened in the last 5 to 8 years or so is that started to change. And as a result of that, we now have this massive wave of startup companies.
Right.
Everything from really early phase to, to still early, but not fully commercial companies yet. We have a few commercial companies as the evolution has occurred,
Right.
but not too many. So what that means is that we are what I would define as probably something like an advanced startup. If you're thinking in the funding realm, it's companies at the A round, B round of fundraising for the most part.
Okay.
And so not a lot of commercial activities. So there's been some, but not a lot of interaction internationally. We're still focused internally and trying to get these companies to become established.
Yes.
At the same time, there are a couple of big companies that have started to pay attention to what's happening here and are acquiring some of these. So probably the biggest European company that's involved here is Sartorius out of Germany. They've done an acquisition here, and then once they discovered what was happening in New Mexico, they started doing bolt-on acquisitions from other places and then bringing them to New Mexico. And so that company is growing pretty dramatically. And so that's the nature of our environment. We're kind of different from others. I personally have been involved all over the world. I've done 4 joint ventures in China. I'm working in the UK, Ireland. I've actually run a factory that was no longer around, but it was in Gosport in the southern part of England.
Sure.
I've come close to doing acquisitions in Scotland. So, just to give you that kind of perspective, that's what New Mexico is. And it's probably a perfect opportunity to start getting involved with the UK to become a base for these companies that are
Yes.
in the startup stage, and so that they can start thinking about not New Mexico or not the US.
Understood. Okay.
Thank you, Stu. And to expand on that just a little bit, and more specifically to your question, Barry, there's not a current partner, official partner in the UK. So far, the interaction with, let's say, NM Bio, and the goal to get those companies to export was a recent partnership to fund the companies to attend a big biotech show in Los Angeles, I believe, which several companies utilize those funds. So that's kind of a similar concept to what Sarah mentioned, being able to use those funds now beyond, let's say, the Los Angeles show to possibly the Giant show, and in this case, the inbound trade mission services. Sarah, if you don't mind, the only other thing if you don't mind me adding, the state submits an application annually for that funding, where they have to include a pretty relatively specific idea of which shows they're going to fund. So companies who are interested in Giant, but also interested in other trade shows, the sooner you connect with the state, the better, because they can include the shows that you're interested in their annual application for funding down the road. So if you're thinking of something a year out or even a year and a half out, now's the time to start talking to the state.
Thanks, Randy. That's great.
Yeah, that's helpful, Randy. Do you guys want to talk, Randy, about the practical elements of how individual companies apply for this STEP grant to participate in the Giant Health event? Or is that later in the agenda, or is that something that everyone would understand already?
I think if we can provide Sarah's contact info, and then any company that's interested can reach out directly to Sarah to start the application process. It's not a tedious process, and it's pretty wide in terms of eligibility.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can follow up, in fact, I'll type in Sarah's email into the chat box. Or Sarah, if you want to do it, that'd be awesome. So
Sure.
Everyone has the contact info.
Yeah, I think that's great. Anyone who's interested, please reach out to me and we'll get you going on those forms and set up for this.
Fantastic.
So Sarah, just to make sure I understand clearly, if a business wants to participate in our inbound trade mission program, they begin by liaising with you and filling out the grant application form?
Correct.
Perfect. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, well, we're running a little bit behind schedule, so let's go ahead and transition over to you, Barry, to talk about Giant, and of course, John, to talk about the tech and health tech industry in the UK.
Good. Okay, Randy and everybody who's contributed already, thank you once again. Obviously, very, very happy to have our partnership with you guys, and we appreciate your time and your enthusiasm, and we're very excited about building a valuable collaboration with you all. So my name is Barry Schreier, and I'm the Chief Executive of Giant Health, and I've got, Randy, I have about 425 slides to present to you. It should take about 3 hours. So if everybody's okay, should I begin with those?
Please.
No, joking aside, I have a few slides just to introduce our business and to talk about what the opportunity for businesses in New Mexico. As you can see at the very bottom of this slide, it says helping health tech companies in New Mexico to sell into the UK healthcare system. But before I begin talking about our business and what we call our inbound trade mission, I just want to introduce you to our associate, John Wilkes, who's here. And John, we just wanted to ask you to give a few minutes talking about the UK economy and general principles of what's involved in a business from overseas entering the UK, and a little bit very briefly about the healthcare system in the UK. I've heard there's this thing called the NHS that I need the phone number of to sell to. And so if you can help us to understand that, please.
It's true, Barry. Good evening, everybody from the UK. Barry's spot on. There is a true story. 4 or 5 years ago now, there was a company from St. Louis. I won't name them, but they had sent their UK representative over here to try to find the front door to the NHS and to engage with the National Health Service. And he was found wandering along Whitehall trying to knock on the door of the Department of Health and Social Care in a tearful state, it must be said. But we looked after him, we found him, and we sent him eventually back to St. Louis with the exclusive revelation that there is no front door to the National Health Service. And it's very awkward when we're trying to explain to North American companies about the landscape that the National Health Service occupies over here. So I'm just going to spend a couple of minutes telling you about that. And then if Barry will permit me, I'm just going to give you a very short lowdown on what you can expect from your participation in Giant Health from the perspective of the Inbound Trade Mission speaker panel. So first of all, the NHS. Look, it's different over here. The entirety of healthcare in the United Kingdom is provided free at the point of access, paid for exclusively through our taxes. Yes, there are one or two people who choose to have private healthcare, but depending on the stats you look at, it's still, even with the corona pandemic and wait lists building, it's still no more than 5% of the total population who have any kind of private health insurance. So really the only game in town, if you're serious about selling your medtech product or service into the United Kingdom, is to engage with the National Health Service. It's very difficult, truthfully, to do that at a national level. So the name belies the fact that most of the business is done very locally, where you engage directly with your supply partners. They may be hospitals, they may be primary care centres, it may be social care through local government, it may be mental health or community health services. There's a whole raft of different providers of care to the UK population. So first job is figure out which sector you want to be selling your product or service to. And certainly when you come to the Giant Health event, we will be guiding you so that you can do your research in that regard. The second thing I would point out is whenever I go to major US events where I meet US companies, the stock request that they make of somebody like me is, how quickly can I find them a UK distributor? Now I know that's the stock in trade, not only in the United States, but often across other countries of the world. Let me absolutely ram this home to you. It's not the way that business typically gets done here. If all you do is appoint a distributor, you are missing out huge amounts of work that you need to do in advance that prepare you properly to get the most out of that distributor relationship. So if you just come over here for, you take your flight from Los Alamos or somewhere like that, and you land at Heathrow Airport and you journey into the center of London, you happen upon Guy's and St. Thomas's Hospital, for example, just over the River Thames from the Houses of Parliament, and you go and knock on the door there and you're lucky enough to find somebody who wants to listen to you. Let me promise you, a distributor isn't going to cut it there. The distributors are good at taking orders and making the final element of the sale process flow, but they're not going to help you over here with getting your product properly evaluated, for engaging with key opinion leaders, for creating a proper and plausible business model, and for creating a proper and plausible business case. They're at the end of the line rather than the beginning. So that's a really important consideration for you to make. And if you don't speak that kind of language when you're engaging with your prospective NHS customer, you're going to have a long-term problem. I grow weary of waving goodbye to clients at Heathrow who are tearfully clambering back on board the 747 or Dreamliner back to the United States, and they've just not done it right. They've approached the UK in the same way as they might a state in the United States or indeed a country elsewhere in the world. So please don't make that kind of rookie mistake, if you will. You've got to approach the UK market differently. And when you come along to Giant, that is exactly what we're going to help you to do. If I can tell you very quickly, am I allowed to, Barry?
Of course.
Can I excite their senses with some of the fabulous stuff they're going to see there? Yep. First up, you're going to get me. I'm going to talk to you about how you make yourself fit for market. And I mean powerful, you know, I mean kind of, you know, proper hyperventilation, good cardiothoracic system, muscles of steel. I want to get you fit so that when you do take the time and trouble and expense to come here, you're not wasting your time. I'm then going to hand on to a great friend of mine, Trevor Lewis, who's very well known internationally. He's going to talk to you about regulatory compliance. And in particular, you may have heard a little B word over here called Brexit. We're coming out of the European Union. It doesn't look as if a trade deal is going to be done anytime soon. So what we're going to be doing is moving from an EU regulatory compliance to a GB regulatory compliance. And Trevor is going to tell you all about that. Then we're going to have a most fantastic session on technical development post-COVID. So all of you guys who've got digital technologies or technologies for doing rapid diagnostics for, in particular, cancer and long-term conditions, the NHS is crying out to hear from you. We want to know about those products and technologies, and we're going to help you with a terrific panel session there to figure out where does your product fit in and how can it be applied. Then we're going to give you a session, this is really important, a critical friend session. So I know most of you who are looking to come to the United Kingdom with your products or services, you are immensely proud of them. You've spent years building them up, maybe from a garage situation in the first place to now, it's properly packaged, it's properly labeled, it works, it's ready to go. You're terribly proud of it. You need a critical friend in the UK just to draw your attention to one or two rough edges that you might need to smooth off before it's absolutely ready here. That might be about pricing. It might be about your business model. It might be about your route to market. There could be a whole section of things that you haven't properly considered. You need a critical friend who can give you some tough love and bring you bang up to speed so that when you make your first pictures, they're going to be successful. Then we're going to give you an absolute Pandora's box. We've got three buyers, procurement people from UK hospitals and elsewhere who are going to talk to you about what they're looking for from a supplier that makes it easy for them to buy. You know, your slick slide deck that worked so well last time you were up in Canada or somewhere like that might not cut the mustard here. We don't like the slick sales patter and so on. We want hard evidence of the value and efficacy that your product or service can bring. And we're going to help you to understand what's in the minds of procurement people when you are engaging with them. And then finally, we've got two fantastic leading distributors from the United Kingdom who are going to talk to you about what distributors are looking for from you in order to help them to want to engage with you and want to sell your product on your behalf. Okay? It's an absolute plethora of brilliance. If you don't come, I'm really sorry. Something has gone seriously awry with your planning. It's essential. Get on the plane, come over, deal with it. Giant Health is where it's at. The inbound trade mission is unmissable. That's all I'm going to say, Barry.
Okay, John, thank you very much. Absolutely superb. Thank you. And very, very informative, and really looking forward to that conference program that I've been highlighting on my screen here. So thanks again for John. I'm grateful for your time and very helpful introduction to all of that. So Randy, if it's okay, I'm just going to summarize a few slides now about the Giant Health event overall and about the Inbound Trade Mission program overall. John, of course, presented to you the highlight of the Inbound Trade Mission program, which is his magnificent, illustrious Gold Star half-day conference for everybody from New Mexico who wants to learn about the Inbound Trade Mission, who wants to learn about entering the UK market. But there's other elements to the Inbound Trade Mission overall. It's a complete package. So I'll talk to everybody about that very briefly right now.
Sure, if I could just interject one quick second. Stu and I had a conversation, and Lisa, about kind of the depth and scope of all the different types of companies that fall into bioscience in New Mexico. So if you at any point, Rick or Stu or Lisa, have any questions to help clarify the value of this opportunity or the type of information that these companies are looking for pertaining to various parts or subsectors of the bioscience sector, please interject so we make sure that everyone addresses what they're hoping to see.
Yeah, and if I could just add, Randy, just very quickly, if any of your potential participants in Giant have got specific questions that they'd like us to give some thought to in advance of the day, please don't hesitate. Let us have that information. That way we can make the event really valuable for you. I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, John. And thank you, Randy. So Randy, I'm just going to spend about 2 minutes right now summarizing about Giant and about our annual event and about the inbound trade mission overall, if that's okay. So very briefly, like I said, obviously, my name is Barry Schreier. Hello, everybody. I'm the Chief Executive of Giant. Giant runs, according to the Financial Times newspaper, Europe's largest and most valuable international festival of health tech innovation. So it's a big annual event. It's the largest event in Europe, and it's about healthcare tech innovation. And so what we do is we facilitate successful business between innovators from around the world. We're matching buyers and sellers of healthcare technologies and life science businesses, and we're helping these innovators to find partners to drive successful business and to help grow your innovations and to help grow your business success. We've been going for 6 years, and we are currently a global community of nearly 200,000 contacts. Our informal strapline is, we are everybody whose business is health. So we run the big annual event, and we also do a weekly email newsletter, which is free to subscribe. You can subscribe to it from our homepage. So if you see here, here's our homepage of our website. Over here on the right is our newsletter. You just click on that and you can subscribe to our newsletter right there. We also do a live TV show every 2 weeks, and we do a high-profile international podcast program. We only launched that 2 months ago, but it immediately went to the top of the charts on the Google and Apple podcast platforms. That's called Giant Thinking. You can download that from the Android or the Apple podcast platforms. So that's a little bit of background about us. We have what we're calling, of course, the Virtual Inbound Trade Mission Program. And this is an impactful service, a high impact service for example, you guys in New Mexico. It's a high quality, cost effective package to enable you guys to learn about and to sell directly into the UK healthcare system. We give you access to a large number of experts, like John, who's joined us on this call, who can help you learn about and understand not only the big principles, the big picture, the British economy, and things like John mentioned, like Brexit, but also the UK healthcare system itself, and how procurement works here, and how you can actually launch your business, and how you can sell successfully here in the UK. So it's a 2-day package, but there's more to it than just the 2-day package. Our event itself is a 2-day package. But before that, we have things like pre-show networking. You can book meetings in advance. And as John mentioned already, we want to hear from you individually. So whatever product you're manufacturing, if it's hardware or software or a service, or whatever your key target markets are, or who you believe your influencers might be, we want to talk to you about that starting right now. And as soon as you sign up to our package, we'll start working with you, learning about your business, learning about your target market, and working with you on introductions to help you book meetings. The meetings, of course, to take place during our event, but we help you book those meetings right now. So it's not just a trade show. It's not just show up at our event, have your virtual exhibition stand, hope that people walk by your exhibition stand and talk to you. We do a lot of work before the event, and we can start promoting your business before the event on social media. We can start talking about your business in our weekly email newsletter and connecting you to influencers before the event so you can have valuable, meaningful conversations with them during the event itself. And then at the event itself, of course, it's a virtual event, so you get your virtual exhibition space. We can talk to you about that in more detail tomorrow or next week or any day. We can show you examples of how our virtual event technology platform works, and you'll have this virtual exhibition stand. We also have the highlight of the entire event, which is actually the highlight of everything happening in the United Kingdom this year. And that's John's conference, which he spoke to you about a little bit before. That's the half-day conference, How to Sell into the UK Market. So if you go to the Giant website and click on the Inbound Trade Mission page on the primary navigation tab of the website, and you scroll down, there's the conference program that John's leading. He talked to you about that already. There's more information about our speakers that are participating. So all that information is available from the website. We also, if this is of interest to you, this might be interesting to you, this might not be, we have an entire conference where people are standing up on stage pitching to investors. So if you're looking to raise money right now and you want to engage with world leading investors from around the world whose focus is life science and healthcare tech, then there's an opportunity for that. And then also, as you can see here on the agenda, item 2D, the matchmaking platform. We offer you high quality, structured, one-to-one video meeting facilities. So you might say, look, I want to speak to doctors. I want to speak to management consultants. I want to speak to life science advisors in the UK. Or I want to learn about how to launch my business on a practical basis. I want to speak to bankers, accountants, lawyers on how do I get my business set up from a practical perspective. So John and his team can help you with all these introductions, and we can provide you the meeting facility to have all those meetings. So it's a complete package about everything that you need to learn about before the event, everybody you want to meet, and then during the event. And then also there's a comprehensive after the event service where we provide you with reports, speaker directories, social media promotion, ongoing networking services to help you find and engage with the right contacts for your business. So it's a big package and it includes everything that you need. Okay, so that's just a summary, very, very briefly. Obviously, Randy, thank you once again. And thank you everybody else who's been involved in the agenda here. Where is the agenda? There's the agenda. So obviously, thanks, Stuart and Lisa. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Sarah. An absolute pleasure to be establishing this valuable partnership with you guys. We're here right now and we're available to answer questions, but we also want to make sure that if anybody has questions, here's the contact details for my colleague, Audrey. She's listening in to this webinar right now. There's her email address. So if you have any questions, you're always welcome to speak to Audrey. If you guys want to have phone calls with us or further video calls, we're here and we're available. So thanks again, Randy, and thanks to Stuart and Lisa, Rick and Sarah. Very excited about figuring out how we can grow a program which brings a lot of value to all of you.
Thank you so much, Barry. I'd love, I mean, let's open it up for questions from anybody that would like to ask. Use your chat window, or you can probably even raise your hand and we'd be able to let you speak. But just to get us started, if anybody from the Bioscience Center or NM Bio wanted to ask any questions, knowing the various types of members, companies that they have, please go right ahead.
I guess my first question. So, oh, sorry, Stu. Go ahead, my friend.
Go.
Okay. Barry, this is great. I really like the focus of your conference, and I think, you know, speaking on behalf of Sarah, it's really helpful for her to evaluate a STEP application based on the agenda you have set up. But I'm kind of curious on, like, I guess I don't know if you call it the hit rate, or, you know, people that actually go to this conference on behalf of a company. What's the percent that actually end up, you know, launching, you know, a branch out in the UK and resulting in certain sales? Does that kind of make sense? Like, what's the success rate for companies that end up wanting to do business there, that attend this, that are successful?
Yeah, of course. It's a brilliant question. And to be direct with you, this is actually a new initiative for us. So we have been going for 6 years, and we are very well established. As you know, the European equivalent of the Wall Street Journal is the newspaper, the Financial Times. They refer to our event, as I mentioned, as Europe's largest, most valuable annual healthcare innovation event. So we're very well established as a big event. We got to grow so large that last year we had to rent out an entire football stadium, Chelsea Football Club Stadium at Stamford Bridge in London, to hold the event. This year, of course, we're going entirely virtual. But the reason we created this event is because the reason we created the inbound trade mission program is because every year we have had a large but random ad hoc number of businesses coming to our event from North America, coming from the United States, also obviously coming from continental Europe, coming from China and elsewhere in Asia. And they come as exhibitors, but mainly they have been attending our event simply as delegates. So buy a ticket, come to our event, wander around, talk to people. And we realized what we're not doing is creating a structured program, a comprehensive package of support. And so unfortunately, this is new for us, so I can't answer your question exactly. But what I can answer is the fact that there's nothing else like this. There's no other program which is comprehensive, which says, look, what stage is your business? Are you a startup, or are you an established SME, or are you already successfully selling not only in New Mexico, but all over Southwest United States or internationally? Whatever the stage of your business is, and whatever area your focus is it life science molecular research at one end of the spectrum, or is that at the exact opposite end of the spectrum? Are you making widgets to be in the hands of general practitioners to do further diagnosis in the GP office, or is it somewhere in the middle? Whatever it is, our partnership in particular with John Wilkes and the program that he has organized, as you can see, I'm having on the screen here, this half-day conference and all the preparation that we can offer to you. So whatever the stage of your business and whatever the audience you're looking to get to, we can offer a customized, bespoke program which will give you everything you need to learn about the UK economy, to learn about the healthcare system here, to learn about how to set up a business here, and to get in front of the people that are the actual buyers, the actual real procurement decision makers for your business. So does that, I hope that answers your question. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's perfect. I do want to commend you on an amazing approach. I think a lot of conferences looking, focusing on the area you are could learn a lot of lessons from your agenda. I think it's really, really smart what you're doing.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But it's about the personal service. It's about the one-to-one service. Maybe there's some businesses, like I said, that are figuring out how to create new software programs to understand how to fold molecules. And they're looking for European universities to engage with in doing trials with scientists at one end of the spectrum, the beginning of the molecule's journey. At the far, far, far end of the other spectrum, maybe there's a business that has a new piece of software which helps pediatric orthopedic surgeons to monitor the results of their surgical procedures. So at the very, very, very far opposite end of the spectrum in the world of life science and healthcare. So we want to help everybody, and we can help everybody. In spite of his looks, as you can see on this video, John might look like a man in his young 30s, but in fact, he has many, many, many decades of expertise in this industry. And if John doesn't know anybody in the healthcare industry and in how life science and procurement works in the UK, then nobody does. So if we don't know them exactly, we know people who do know the procurement people that you need to get in front of. So that's the service that we're offering.
So this is Stu Rose. One of the companies that I think could benefit dramatically from something like this, I think, is in the business of manufacturing instruments that are used for medical research. So they're probably not selling to the NHS, but maybe to universities.
Exactly.
Or some such thing as that. And so you can help them as well, as if I'm understanding this right, correct?
Yes, absolutely, Stuart. And thank you. It's a very good question. So I'm American, as you know, but I've lived my adult life here in the UK. As you know, according to international research and independent statistics, 4 of the 8 largest, most high-profile and prestigious medical research universities in the world are based in London, Cambridge, and Oxford. And we have direct connections with absolutely all of them, all the independent research departments and divisions within those universities, as well as all the other universities in the UK. We also have very, very strong contacts with the British Government Department of Health and a subsidiary of the Department of Health, which is called HEE, Health Education England, who are actually sponsors of Giant. So the entire medical educational curriculum in the UK is set by the British government Department of Health subsidiary HEE, and also they have, of course, the leadership role in funding research here. So short answer, yes. And John, would you like to add to that anything in particular?
Yeah, I would actually, Barry. Look, we've all been to conferences and events in the past, physical or virtual, and it's been very general, very top level. You know, lots of pictures from inward investment, sort of sub-government organizations and so on. You come away kind of, you've got a little bit of knowledge, but not enough to take proper next steps with. And we absolutely refute that as a methodology. That the reason that Barry and I are working together on this is that we're confident that we can give any delegate a proper toolkit of things for them to go away and do, so that they've got practical next steps for them to take that will enhance their prospects for selling their product here. You know, you can spend a lot of money going all around the world, getting a lot of sunshine blown up your ass about how wonderful your product or service is. But as a great friend of mine says, nothing happens until somebody sells something. You know, it has to be orientated to people actually generating some turnover for themselves by making sales. And it's our determination that that is our aim with this conference.
So again, another one, and I think the answer is yes, but so one of the companies you saw referenced in the presentations is a company called Pebble Labs. Interesting company. And what they're doing as an example is they're managing to change the genome, maybe the biome is a better word, the biome of a mosquito so that it cannot transmit Zika virus or malaria.
Nice.
Okay. And they've had some fascinating successes. Probably the most notable is in the shrimp farming, where there's a virus that attacks the shrimp that dramatically diminishes the yield of the shrimp.
Yeah.
They can change the biome of the shrimp so that the virus cannot attack that shrimp. And they've had phenomenal successes with something like that.
Wow.
Does anyone in the UK know about them, or could they? Is there how do you have mechanisms to introduce them, for example, to someone in the UK who might be interested in those kinds of technologies, changing the biome of an organism?
I would say absolutely. So of course, one could argue that that's not directly in the world of healthcare and looking after people that are unwell and have to go into a hospital. But number one,
right.
This is about, for example, British government Department of Agriculture. And as a simple example, every year, the British government cabinet minister, Matt Hancock, who's Minister for Health in the UK, he speaks at our event. We have direct access to his office. And we also have direct access to members of parliament and other senior figures in government. And so what we would do is we would work with you, Stuart, and with that business. What's it called? Pebble Labs?
Pebble Labs, yes.
Pebble Labs, yeah. And I think we could very, very quickly map out who are the right governmental offices for them to be engaging with, and who are the right universities that are doing research in, for example, biome as it relates to virus and health and agriculture and food and fisheries and this type of thing.
Okay, so that's good. So what that says to me is that we can introduce a fairly broad range of companies here that are, again, still pretty early stage companies, as I mentioned,
Sure.
but who have well beyond the proof of concept for their products or services. And then you can figure out who in the UK might be interested in working with them. That's really what I'm hearing.
That's right, yes.
Okay, great.
Excellent. Randy, how are we doing for time?
So we have just a couple of minutes left. So I think we should probably wrap up. Any of the attendees that have participated, please feel free to reach out to us. We'll get you connected over with Giant as well as with STEP grant funding if you're eligible, which I strongly feel most of you would be. I think also in addition to attendees here, I think the Bioscience Center and NM Bio have more information to talk to their members directly where they think there might be an opportunity for them to participate. So I think that's another great way to go about spreading the word. And unless anybody else has any other questions, I'd love to thank Audrey and Celeste for helping us put this together. We couldn't have done it without your hard work over the last couple of weeks.
Brilliant.
And with that, we will let everybody go.
Great.
Randy, thank you very much. John,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
everybody.
Thank you all. Good meeting you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks
Bye.
again. All the best.